I'm a feminist, but I've started this new project called The Road to Gilead. And mostly what I've discovered is that 90% of fighting fascism is nudging people by email. Hey, just wondering if you'd had a chance to read my email about the rise of Christian nationalism and how we can fight it so we don't lose all our rights. No worries if not. I was led to believe there'd be a lot more jumping out of planes. Fighting fascism in the past has been a lot of plane jumping, a lot of excitement.
Yeah.
This is mostly nudging.
Yeah, a lot of nudging, isn't there? Yeah. Gosh, especially when it's kind of interfamilial. I've got family members on the turn.
Oh, yeah, me too.
And that's nudge central.
I just got unfriended by a cousin.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he shared a video that London was turned into Londonistan, that it was majority Muslim, and I sent him the stats on that and showed him from the last census exactly how it's something like 7% of the UK population is in total. But I think I broke it down. It is Muslim. I broke it down. It's higher in London, but not massively. And I broke it down and said there was only 1% in Northern Ireland. Anyway, maybe I sent him too many stats. We'll never know. We'll never know because he unfriended me and then wouldn't reply to any of my messages. We weren't close, but he was the only cousin that I have that I'm in contact with. And I sent him a message saying, you're more related to my father than I am biologically because I'm adopted, and it's just a bit sad. And anyway, I hope you have a nice life and all of that. He didn't respond. He was too busy posting another video of Charlie Kirk.
Just keep nudging.
There'll be no more nudging there. The nudge is over.
I'm worried your I'm a feminist butts are quite on point, and we're going to deviate now to something a bit more basic.
No, some of mine aren't. Yeah.
I'm a feminist, but... ashamed. I'm a feminist, but I'm ashamed of my I'm a feminist butts. I'm a feminist, but I do wish I had nicer hands. I've always had an issue with them. I've got so many. I'm not looking for any. No, lovely hands. No, it's too late. That ship has sailed, and it's sailed young. For me, I had my first jobs were things like chambermaid and waitressing and stuff like that. I immediately started ruddying them. As soon as I was post-baby, I was ruddying these hands. I had one of my earliest boyfriends said, "I like your hands. You've got workers' hands."
No.
My current partner handed me some hand... So this is the other thing. I want nicer hands. I'm not prepared to do anything about it. I do PE that makes them worse, that makes them rough. I do weightlifting and stuff. And actually, gymnastics-y bits. Anyway, they're rough. And my partner, she gave me some hand cream to use as she was putting on. All right, put some on. And I hated it. It was really sort of greasy. And I said, God, my hands feel all oily. And she sort of touched them and went, they just feel like a normal hand.
Wow.
And the best example, the funniest example, I think, is the first acting job I ever got an audition for, and it was an advert for an Irish yogurt company. And I walked in, I'd never had an audition before, and so I walked in very hello, and they were like, profiles, please, and I didn't even know what that meant. It means you've got to sort of show them what you look like from all your different sides, and so I was already a red flag for them because I didn't know what profiles please meant. And then they said, and show us your hands. And I went like that, and they went, and you can go.
Oh!
I didn't even get a free scoop of yog. I didn't even get to taste yog. I was out before they even wasted another hot yog on an aspiring young actor. They didn't even open a yog for me. They looked at the hands and went, you can go now, we're busy, get out. Get out.
Acting is not great for the self-esteem, is it?
No.
I really admire people who go to auditions because I don't really do that. I only ever act if someone rings me and says, I've written something for you. And even then, I don't always get it. I'm a feminist, but my favourite part of Lily Allen's Revenge album is the part about butt plugs. I just thought, how audacious to say there was a Duane Reade bag of butt plugs, name brand the pharmacy, giving it that ring of truth. That's what she always does. It feels truer, doesn't it? Because why would she say Duane Reade otherwise? And she mentioned his butt plugs.
I've never heard
audacious.
of Duane Reade. You're going to have to explain. Is he a well-known butt plug manufacturer?
No. It's like Boots. It's like saying...
He's Holland and Barrett butt plug.
Yeah, it's like saying that. It's like saying, Boots a Boots Ready meal or something like that, but a Dwayne Reed butt plug, apparently. I didn't even know they sold butt plugs. I don't know if they do. We just put it in the Dwayne Reed bag with
I
with
see.
the condoms.
It's just the bags. You got a Neil's Yard cheese bag full of butt plugs. The two aren't necessarily connected.
I've not.
Dwayne.
Listen, I hasten to add that I've never bought a butt plug, so I don't know which kind of emporiums deal in them. I've never, and if I were going to buy one, I'd certainly do it on the internet. Surely.
Right.
Although then there's a trail. Maybe better pay cash. I don't know. I'm thinking about it now. Maybe go and get cash out of the cash point, slide into one of those shops, you know.
Okay.
Slide into one of those shops that you say...
Along the A1, one of those shops.
Oh, no, there's some in Soho that are sort of
Okay.
like, you know, you can go in because you can pretend that you're looking for a baby doll nightie, but in fact you're looking for a vibrator. Those sorts of shops.
Yeah.
And then once you're in there, the staff have seen it all and they don't give a fuck. But of course,
No.
if you've got a well-known podcast, there is an element where you can just sort of say, oh, I'm doing this for a podcast challenge, which clearly you're not. You're just buying a vibrator. Not me. One could.
You're too holistically well known now. I'm in a situation where I'm not well known at all, but I get recognised more than by my voice than by my face. So I could go into adult store in the middle of the A1, completely safe as long as I went, "Can I have a butt plug, please?"
I also
they've
recognise
no
more
idea
my
who
voice,
I am.
so I would have to also. But I think I would go for a higher one. I might go up here.
Can I have a butt plug, please? Do you know what? I think they're less likely to remember you if you just go a little bit higher register. Can I have a butt plug, please? Than if you do, can I have a butt plug, please?
I feel like...
Because they might remember that for other reasons. That might be memorable.
Yeah,
also.
I feel like they're going to take a picture of you to show their friends, and one of the friends go, that's Jessica Fostekew. She does the Guilty Feminist, So don't do that. I think I'm going to try and say nothing. I'll just choose the butt plug I want. I don't even know what I would want. I would need help.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's get on to another one. What do you...
I'm a feminist, but my son's a slob. I have a 9-year-old son, and I'm worried he's a worse slob because he lives with two adult women who are very efficient around and about him.
Efficient?
Yeah, just
so you'll
shit
tidy
gets done.
up.
Stuff's done, and you know. It's almost like we've accidentally given him a fucking entourage of help.
Every day, you have to realise you're training someone's husband. There's a future... Now, I don't know... Sorry, but... I've added more to your plate.
A lot of pressure there, yeah.
Yeah.
That's worse than when my mum rang when he was 7 and said, I don't know if you've seen that show Adolescence, but you in particular should brace yourself.
Fucking... Well, what?
Yeah. Well, now I'm thinking about what he's going to be like as a husband already.
Sorry.
A lazy one at this point on the picking up clothes front.
Well, look...
He's old enough to do it. I should have trained him by now. He's got one full moustache hair. So I think by that point you should be able to go and get yourself dressed without there being an item of clothing upon every square centimetre of the floor from your choosing.
To be honest,
you can choose like that if you want. Empty every drawer if you want. Only if you've got time to pop those things back in.
I'm really glad you can't see my bedroom tonight, because I had a few thoughts about outfits.
Right,
and some
you
of
look
them are,
amazing,
some
so
of
it's
them
worked
are,
out great for us.
Yeah, but some of them are still on the bed. So...
Okay. I'll send him round for some folding practice.
Excellent. Sounds a bit like child labour, but okay. I'm a feminist, but when I see a man carrying a crying child, I feel moved. If I see a woman carrying a crying child, I feel sorry for her. People seem to agree to that one. I thought they'd be more horrified, but they went,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moved in what way? To rage or?
No. If a man's carrying a child and comforting a crying child,
You think, oh.
I find it moving in the way that, people find it like that if a man changes the nappies of his own baby, where people go, oh my God, he's such a good dad. I can't help feeling emotionally moved by an Athena poster of a man, a man carrying a child crying and comforting the child. I go, oh, something stirs in your ovaries. If I see a woman, I just go, poor her.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they're both valid reactions.
I mean...
It's funny, isn't it? I think it's... I think the one that mums can get annoyed with is when people see a male parent and they think, aren't they great? Haven't they done well? I think being moved is all right, but if you think, wow, fantastic.
Oh, but everyone does. Everyone thinks men are amazing for coming to this show. They do. We all do. The bar is lower for them. If they're carrying a Dwayne Reed bag, we're like, well done. You're picking something up for your wife. We don't know it's butt plugs.
Now we know what.
We think. Oh, he's got aspirin for his wife. He's probably picked up tampons for her from Dwayne Reed. No, he's got butt plugs for his Pussy Palace dojo. That's what's happened right there. Do you have any more?
I need to spend more time with that album, I think.
Pussy Palace.
One
Pussy
more.
Palace.
I'm a feminist, but I recently said no to attending a family holiday because I can't afford it. And I can't afford it, but that happened in the same week that I've become someone who spends money on 2 separate different snake oils to apparently make my under-eye bags vanish.
Oh!
I've got a night one and a day one.
I'm a feminist, but Gina, who's my right-hand woman, who will be thanked at the end of this show, yesterday sent me a link for something that she reckoned was amazing for anti-aging. And when I looked at it, the brand was called Spoilt Child. And I sent back, thank you, wow, this looks amazing. And no irony, it's only now that you've said that I've thought, I should have stepped back and gone, why is it called Spoilt Child? Isn't that infantilizing women? You're selling anti-aging products to someone and you're calling it spoilt child. If we were spoilt children, we wouldn't have bags under our eyes. What are you doing? You're confusing me by calling me something young.
You know you've got to a problem with your kind of worries over your ageing when it feels like a compliment to be called a truculent toddler.
Yeah, absolutely.
By a brand.
I'm like,
yes, that's me. I'm a spoilt child.
Absolutely.
It says child. That's me.
That is, I think, the response that I possibly psychologically, subconsciously had. I didn't think about it too much. It just looked very shiny.
Fair.
And it promised me things I know are not possible, but I want to believe in. Live from the Museum of Comedy, the Spontaneity Shop presents The Guilty Feminist with me, Deborah Frances-White, guest co-host Jessica Fostekew, and our very special guest, Jolyon Rubinstein, talking about the value of coalition. Hello, and welcome to the Guilty Feminist launch of The Road to Gilead. You are the ground floor. If this doesn't spread as a huge grassroots movement, I'm afraid you failed. Thank you so much for coming out. And I'm very happy to say tonight is officially a sellout. We had no more tickets to sell. So these people clearly are in a pub going... Look, honestly, I mean, I do care about the rise of fascism, but it's cold and it's Sunday, and it's these kind of feminists that are not going to change the world. You four, yes. Now, no, maybe they were so busy fighting feminism they couldn't get here. They probably met a mansplainer in a pub and they had work to do, like superheroes. They're challenging a manspreader on the tube or something. We don't know why they're not here, but let us assume it is because they are fighting fascism elsewhere. So this is the birth and the launch of something. We've decided instead of doing one big show to do 6 small shows over November. Because we thought we could do a whole big thing and have everyone go, oh, wow, we're in the Palladium, yes, we're going to do something. And then it will just go, people will go off and they'll watch The Traitors and they'll forget. But we thought if we've got like lots of different neighbourhoods coming, lots of opportunities to hear from lots of different guests, not exhausting everyone by having the whole show on one night, every guest I've ever met on the one night, which is what I usually do when I get into a big venue. It becomes more of a hostage situation than anything at the Royal Albert Hall. So we just thought, why don't we do lots of small events? And we've got lots of small events coming up. And in January, Amnesty International on January 17th have very kindly given us a big space in their headquarters in central London for us to come together in a grassroots day where we have an open space. Does anyone know about open space? It's great. It's a great method of people bringing their problems, their ideas, their exciting venture, but they don't know who to do it with or they don't know how to do it, but they've got an idea or they've got a problem. And then we break off into groups and we rove around and move into other groups. and try and figure out how we create things. And in that, we find we have chemistry on my ideas, like your idea. Let's get things going, because I do want this to be a grassroots, movement that goes somewhere and does something. Because I am frankly sick of sitting in rooms with feminists telling each other what we already know. I feel someone almost clapped then. They were so annoyed. They were so like, I am so sick of sitting in rooms with other feminists telling each other what I'm almost going to applaud. I'm cusping on applause, guys. That's how, I was so angry I almost wrote a letter. Furious. I was so furious I read half of the bell jar. I can't do it anymore unless we're going to do something. Something that Gloria Steinem said years ago when I went to see her speak was a movement has to be moving somewhere. Where are we moving? And it did, when I started The Guilty Feminist almost a decade ago, it felt very exciting. We started at the end of 2015, and so beginning of 2016, we really had to hit the ground running, because I don't know if you remember 2016. What a year! What a year. Suddenly the referendum hit us in the face, Trump got in, marches in the streets, it really kind of took off, but it felt really hopeful. And I don't mind telling you that a year or two now, about 2 years probably, maybe a bit more, I've started to feel a bit like, what are we doing? What's this for? And I started to feel really burnt out. And I did think to myself, I think maybe at the 10-year mark I should end The Guilty Feminist and just write novels and plays, and I'm maybe a bit burnt out on trying to change the world, and maybe, I pass the baton on to someone else, and da-da-da-da. And then I discovered this that we're going to talk about tonight, and I got the biggest shot of energy through my body, dynamic shot of, and I went, oh, fuck no. And do you know what it was? I wasn't burnt out due to overwork. I mean, there was a bit of that, obviously, but we all are. I was burnt out because I felt I had no purpose. And I felt it was performative. It was just like, let's say this again and watch nothing change. Let's say this again and let the world get much worse. What are we really doing? And now I know what I'm doing. It's very clear to me what I'm doing. It's so clear to me what I'm doing, I've written a speech. So that I say the right things in the right order. Would you like to hear the speech? Okay, we're meant to do some stand-up comedy at this point, but I've decided I'm not going to do stand-up comedy. I know we're in the Museum of Comedy, so don't be disappointed. I've booked Jessica Fostekew because she will definitely do stand-up comedy. We're going to do our I'm a Feminist parts. We're going to be funny and entertaining, but I'm going to do a speech about what is the launch of the Road to Gilead. What is it? Why is it? Okay, all right. So what is the Road to Gilead? Well, you all know Margaret Atwood's dystopian future, where she, in the novel, portrays a world where various terrible totalitarian things that have already happened to pregnant women in Irish laundries, to Native American girls, to enslaved black women, to Australian Aboriginal children, and more. And she imagines them all happening at once, to the exclusion of anything else, in a USA of the future that hasn't reckoned with its past. And this place is called Gilead. Margaret Atwood wrote that novel poetically in the year 1984. And she then predicted, with extraordinary vision, that the thing that would give the government an excuse to turn a democracy into a police state was a false flag Islamic terror attack. This would be followed by women being marshalled out of their workplaces and their voting rights taken away, black and brown people rounded up by the government and taken to work camps known as the colonies. A pro-birth culture forcing fertile white women into the position of vessels for birth under Christian nationalist overlords. We are now seeing a political climate that feels like a step towards that vision. To be clear, the US is not yet totalitarian. I don't want to be alarmist. As Margaret Atwood said herself in a recent interview, if the States were a totalitarian place, we would not be filming The Testaments, which is the new spin-off of The Handmaids, at all. We'd be in jail, in exile, or dead. We have to remember that. But we see the misogynistic anti-feminist rhetoric, the way the next generation of boys are being radicalized by YouTubers and podcasters, as recently depicted in the Netflix drama Adolescence. The way women are bleeding out in American hospitals, doctors too frightened to give them a life-saving abortion because they might not be able to prove it's life-saving and will risk their medical license and, in fact, a prison sentence. We are seeing Doug Wilson, a pastor at the Communion of Reformed Evangelical Churches, a network of around 130 churches across America, who've newly set up a congregation in Washington, D.C. Not, Wilson says, so he can meet influential people, but so that they can meet God. A church and a church pastor saying on primetime CNN, women are the kind of people that women come out of. That's what he said. In fact, said it takes no talent to give birth. He hasn't tried it. I mean, I haven't either, but I'm not sure I've got the talent, I'll be honest. That's some people laughing, hollow laughs. My talent's never recovered. I didn't say there'd be no jokes. Just there'd be more spontaneous ones. He also said the wife and mother who is the chief executive of the home is entrusted with 3 or 4 or 5 eternal souls. And he argues on CNN on prime time that along with other men and along with other men in his congregation, there's a whole montage, you can see it online, that the 19th Amendment was a mistake. Does anyone know what the 19th Amendment was? Women's right to vote. It was a mistake. They say women don't have any right to vote in their church on matters or lead, and neither should they in the United States of America or elsewhere in the world. But the argument they're making is quite clever. They're saying giving the vote to women took it away from households. And in a Christian household, it just so happens that the man in all of these heteronormative households is the head, so he should cast the vote. They say we don't have any problem with women voting as long as they're the head of the household. But if they are in a household with a man of age, that man should be voting. Sounds like a really good reason to be a lesbian. I don't think that's where they're going with it, though. That's not the vibe. That's not at all the vibe they gave off. They don't realise how much they are encouraging lesbianism and how much they're encouraging all bisexual women to go, well, I mean, women are better anyway. I don't know what I was doing with this guy. I'd really like voting. And you're thinking, women do vote way better than men, though, actually. I mean, yeah. So it's a clever way of getting women not to vote. They know women will be more likely vote left than men. Now, you might think, well, this is obviously a fringe group. But Pete Hegseth, the Minister for the Minister for War, as we must call him with a straight face, it'll take a lot of Botox, attended their first church service in DC and then posted the video, this montage of men and women, obedient wives saying women shouldn't have the vote, and so on and so on. He posted that, and he posted it with the endorsement, all of Christ, all of life. That's what Pete Hegseth said. Do you know what that is? It's the official slogan of this church. Now, you may think, well, I'll never overturn the 19th Amendment, and maybe they won't. It's not easy to overturn an amendment. But I can see a way in which they argue that they should leave it to the states, the way they have with Roe versus Wade. Now, Roe versus Wade is a Supreme Court ruling. It's easier to overrule that than it is an amendment. But they have form. And Trump doesn't seem massively bothered about the way democracy works. I don't know if you've noticed that. But he doesn't know how it works, and he is not interested in learning. So if he wakes up on a whim and decides that as he increases his surveillance, as he increases his police state-style army, that he wants this to happen, he has got time in this term and apparently the next. Now, I was told by a legal expert in 2019, and I'm saying this because I know that lots of men listen to this podcast and are going to be thinking, you can't really overturn the 19th Amendment, it's not possible. I was told by a legal expert in 2019 on national television that overturning Roe versus Wade was impossible. It was on television. I said it wasn't. He said it was. I said, have you seen this documentary called The Handmaid's Tale? Nothing's impossible. Nothing lasts forever. The Roman Empire didn't last forever. Nothing lasts forever. Nothing lasts forever. The idea that you can't overturn it, that's somehow set in stage. So whether they can or will overturn the 19th Amendment, they're changing the climate. Changing what can be said, what's normal on CNN on prime time. They're changing how women can be treated. And meanwhile, ICE round up brown people, many with papers, some American citizens. And I don't know if you heard this story in the last week, but some investigative journalists have uncovered, guess where they are? A lot of brown people who were kidnapped by ICE, their families don't know, there's no due process, there's no right to a lawyer, nothing, are in work camps, working 60, 70 hours a week for they're giving them some nominal dollar a week or something like that. There's no way out of that. There's no legal recourse because all of those laws have just been ignored and overturned. This was Margaret Atwood's vision, that the black and brown people would be rounded up and taken away. Sometimes people don't like The Handmaid's Tale because they think that she wrote black and brown people out of it, and I absolutely understand that point of view. But I think what she was saying was, this is a time when black and brown people are disposable, that queer people are disposable, they're taken away. OBGYN experts are saying that officials have seen pregnant women sleeping on floors, this is in ICE captivity, pregnant women sleeping on floors, being told to drink water instead of getting medical attention, and that women have been miscarrying and not allowed to see doctors afterwards. So it's not so much that all fetuses matter as that all white fetuses matter. We have solidarity with our American cousins, but how does this apply to us here in the UK? Or if you're listening around the world, in Australia, New Zealand, other parts of the world where this podcast is popular, Canada, it is bubbling up. It is happening wherever you are. And please look into it and think about A Road to Gilead or whatever you want to call it there. You don't all have to call it Road to Gilead. Some people don't like that reference. That's absolutely fine. This is what I'm doing. Please do your own thing and I will be in coalition with you. But wherever you are, it is happening there. So in the UK, American Christian nationalists, well, they've been here for 10 to 12 years. They've been here being strategic, which we are not good at. Hiding what they really want, which we are not good at. Making alliances with their natural enemies, which we are very bad at. And biding their time, which we are, frankly, appalling at. They are now becoming visible. Jane Bradley and Elizabeth Dias, reporters, broke a story for the New York Times recently about the definite links between Nigel Farage and the Reform Party and the ADF, that's the Alliance Defending Freedom. If you don't know what that is, they are a Christian conservative American legal group, very instrumental in overturning Roe versus Wade, very anti-abortion, very anti-gay rights. Now, Farage has appointed as a senior advisor. Oh, by the way, I'm having them on the podcast. They're coming on the podcast. The show is already sold out on the 23rd, but it will be out on podcast. I'll see. I don't know if they'll let us live stream, but it'll definitely be out as a podcast on YouTube. So here's the thing. Other ways in which they're becoming visible. Farage has appointed a new senior advisor. This is Cambridge University professor James Orr, who heads the Centre for a Better Britain think tank, and according to the Byline Times, is an influential figure in Donald Trump's administration and is admired by Vice President J.D. Vance. He's not the only one who admires J.D. Vance. His arrival comes soon after the defection from the Tories of right-wing MP Danny Kruger, who holds similar views to Professor Orr. Can I tell you, Professor Orr doesn't believe in abortion or is actually anti-abortion for any reason. Any reason. You could be 10 years old, it can be incest, it could be the worst possible scenarios, doesn't believe in abortion for any reason, and is actively anti it. Over the summer, Professor Orr and Mr. Kruger visited Mr. Vance while he was in the UK ahead of them joining Reform. Professor Orr I would love to know what happened in that meeting. Professor Orr has also described asylum seekers as invaders in a provocative piece. He is no longer just a don in Cambridge's divinity faculty, in Cambridge's divinity faculty, cut that out, Tom. I don't want people to think I'm stupid at home. These people know. You've paid to be here. You see all the worst stuff. This 46-year-old is described as J.D. Vance's intellectual mentor. I'd take that off my resume. Would imagine having that on your CV. J.D. Vance's intellectual mentor. I'd be like, mate, no, don't say that to people. Don't, just... in fact, he calls Vance the future of MAGA and admires American gun laws. It seems very much that if Farage wins, as many are saying he could, that we will become the unofficial 51st state. Farage is already promising Doge, that which is stripping ordinary Americans of ordinary things in an increasingly unfair world. Obviously, they'll be keen to bring in a version of ICE. And while Farage has always been pro-choice, he's now suddenly saying that our abortion week limit is absolutely ludicrous and that equal marriage was a mistake. Our way of life will probably be very different and our hard-won rights may be gone if we let them win. Where Christian nationalists currently have influence, we are seeing how far things can be pushed. A new anti-trans bathroom bill coming in seems to be worse than the one we were horrified by in Texas. Trans people may be able to use no loos at all unless there's a third space. And how many places in London have the scaffolding, the structure, the ability to put in a third space, the money to put in a third space? Genuinely, they may not be able to go to either loo. What does that mean? They have to stay home. Now, Christian nationalists, I'm not saying everyone who's part of the gender critical or anti-trans movement is a Christian nationalist, but I am saying Christian nationalists have put a lot of money in specifically to divide the feminist and the LGBTQ+ movements. And they don't really see any difference between trans people and gay people and bi people. It's just all against God and nature to them. But they understood that's where there was some disagreement, and they went in hard. Neil Datta says, who's the head of the European Forum for Reproductive Rights, says that 78 million, he's an expert on this, he's been on the podcast, you can listen, I'm re-releasing his particular interview tomorrow. He has said that there's 78 million they've spent on it, that we know of, but he thinks it's closer to 1 billion. And that was to divide us, and that has worked. But here's the thing, beware when they persecute and make invisible an underclass, as they are doing with trans people. You can't go out if there's no loo. You can't go out. That's what they used to do to women. There were no public lavatories for women a long time ago. Specifically, they used to call it like the apron string principle or something. They couldn't go very far. So please be aware that if they round up, if they create an underclass, as they've done with trans people, and then they round up some of those people and take them away, and they make other people's lives so hellish that they become invisible, some people think, the underclass will go away. Same as what they're doing with refugees. The underclass will go away. They always need an underclass. So when they take that underclass away, they've set a precedent. And guess what? That next underclass might just be you. So you can never set a precedent that an underclass can be created and then made invisible and persecuted, because they will do it again and again and again. And you've watched it happen, so you've set the precedent with them. So it makes no sense for gay people and women to let trans people sink. We have time to turn this around. In the UK, we have 3 years before the next election. I've heard some people saying, it's just going to happen. Let reform get in. They'll see how bad it gets. We cannot afford to. You're seeing what's happening in America. It will totally change the fabric. We don't want to become the unofficial 51st state. We have time, and it isn't going to be easy, but it's damn well possible. We just need to spread the word to the apolitical middle. What's really going to happen? People who are working 2 jobs with they've got a side hustle. They're trying to, help their kids with their homework because they've got an overcrowded classroom. There's a reason they keep us like this. Then we're too busy for politics. We don't have the bandwidth. When we get a minute, we just want to watch The Traitors. And that's all we got time for. But we need to help people understand, who may not be as politicized as the people in this room, that we have to act now, and we have to act to vote. We have to get this word out as what will happen if we let reform in. And Nigel Farage, maybe he's just a big red button to push. Maybe he's a cheeky chappy. We need to let people know exactly what it is. Now, here's the thing. I do not want this to come across as an attack on faith or an attack on faith communities. It is not. It is a resistance to dogma being weaponized for power, for the abuse of power. And I want churches in this country that have traditionally been on the left, I mean, not Henry VIII, obviously, but in the last, 100 years, have been the places where refugees can come. And, they've been a place where it hasn't been a place like a lot of American churches are that tend to be quite right. But I can absolutely see a world in which, if there's a church, there's 12 people coming on a Sunday and someone comes in who's a young Charlie Kirk type and says, let me preach, I'll pack this place out. The temptation for that. So I've really been trying to get church leaders on side. It's very difficult to book a bishop. I don't know if you've ever tried. I have been trying to. I've done so much to book a bishop, and yet, if anyone knows a bishop that's on side, so there was a bunch of church leaders. I've managed to get a really good vicar now. She's great, but the thing is. There's a big group of church leaders who signed a letter saying we don't want our churches manipulated for Christian nationalist purposes. And we need to get that message out there because otherwise it is happening. It was something like 2% of young men went to church, now 20%. And that is not because of faith, that's because of Jordan Peterson and Russell Brand ushering men into churches because that is a great place to control them. Because then if Jesus says, which he didn't, that he doesn't like gay people, we can't argue with that. So we need our churches on side. I'm not a religious person, but I don't want to demonize anybody who is religious. I want them on side because nothing these people are saying is anything Jesus would have said. None of them have read the Bible, or if they have, they've ignored the whole thing except the Old Testament. Now, I don't know a lot about this. I found out about this because I was writing my book. And I started seeing things that I didn't understand, and that's how I found out something about it, enough to start this. I feel really excited by what I don't know about political strategy, what I don't know about Christian nationalism, what I don't know about the way things joined up. I've invited my guest on tonight because he was saying things and I went, I want to know about that. And do you know what really excites me about that? That's who I was 10 years ago. I was someone who said, oh, this feminism, it's always what I've wanted to do, but I don't think I'm good enough. I'm a feminist but. And I said, I want to learn with my audience. Almost 10 years later, I'm back here. I don't know a lot about this, but I know I want to be involved and I know I want to lead from the middle, not from the top, but I want to be the heart of something. I don't want to be the head of something. I want to be the heart of something. And I know that we can do this. I know we can because I've gone around the country with my book tour and I've talked about it, and everywhere people have gone, if there's something we can do, we'd love to do it. We just need to know what. I don't know what either, but I know that with all of us in the room, we're so smart. There's always people with PhDs in my audience. Who's got a PhD? Just give us a cheer. Yep, there you go. That's a low turnout tonight. There's usually 4. Any more? You've got master's degrees. Okay, anyone who's got a master's? Oh! Fuck, I haven't. This is embarrassing now. If you're listening at home, you don't have to have any of those things. I don't care. Some of the cleverest people I know have no degrees at all. So that it's just a joke, okay? Don't feel like you can't come. Loads of people come and don't have degrees. Anyone not got a degree? Give us a cheer. Yeah, there you go. See, I don't care if you dropped out of school. So did loads of people. I feel really excited to be back here. I feel excited to go, I don't know about this, but every guest, I have to go, what is it that you know that I don't know so that we can work on this together? I'm really, really excited. I'm happy. I'm hopeful. I'm excited to see, like, Mamdani just playing to his own bass. You know, I'm excited to see Zach Polanski. You know, I'm really excited by some, people on the left who are just coming out and going, well, this is what I think, and I'm not going to apologise. The left continues to play to the right's base. If people in this country wanted diet reform, they would want full-fat reform. They're not going to fall for that. So I feel like we can, if we come together. I really think if we give some people something to believe in, they will start to believe again. So I feel like sometimes on my book tour, people kept saying to me, how do I find joy? People say, find joy. How can I be happy? How can I be hopeful? And I just said, I don't think that's the moment we're in. I think, don't look for happiness. Happiness is always elusive when you look for it. Happiness is not the natural human state. We have moments of it, but ultimately we're always a bit dissatisfied. When things are the best they've ever been in our life, we're thinking, is that good enough? I mean, I don't think we should be looking for that. I think we should be looking for purpose and connection because those are the things that make us happy. And right now we have a massive opportunity for purpose. We have a massive opportunity for coalition, connection, and to come together. As I said, I don't want this to be some central place where there's conferences and stuff. I want it to spring up everywhere. I want us to all be in coalition, shining lights on each other. I want to do what I can, how I can. This is my little bit. This is my contribution. But allow it to, please join in, and please allow it to inspire you to start your own things, and let's be in coalition together. The truth is, we might lose. And if we do, all of the work we're doing now is going to be so important. Because if we lose, we're going to need an organised army. And how will we have that unless we come together now 3 years out and fight? This will not be for nothing if we lose. This will be for everything. When I saw Gloria Steinem in New York recently, I said to her, I got invited to some, like a round table feminist thing, which was lovely at her house. It was real privilege. And I just said to her in a quiet moment, like, sorry, this makes me quite emotional, but she spent decades of her life, her young years, her middle years, fighting for abortion and then Roe versus Wade. You know, she spent so long on that. And that was her legacy. And she was 89. She's in her early 90s now. She was 89 when that got overturned. I thought, imagine being 89 and your life's work, your legacy, everything you worked for, snatched away. I was so glad Maya Angelou died when Obama was in power. Because imagine she'd got there and then sort of... Anyway, his policies aside, you know. Let's not get into that for now. And I just said to Gloria, I didn't email you because I thought you're going to be bombarded, but I did think... I'm just really sorry. And she just grabbed both my hands and she looked into my face and she had a huge smile on her face, this glowing positive energy, but she went, oh, that's just patriarchy. They're always changing things. They're always doing things. They're always making rules. They're always doing things. We don't worry about them. We had abortion before Roe. We had it during Roe, where they made it impossible, where they made access impossible, when they challenged it, when they made it difficult. And we will have abortion after Roe. She said, because we have the sisterhood. We don't worry about that. We keep going. And it was her positive energy that I just went, oh, this is why you're still going, having feminist round tables in your 90s. I understand now. If we lose, this is what we have. But we better get it ready. And I truly believe, with enough of us facing in the right direction, in coalition, not taking each other down for every little thing, we can win. Thank you. And now, please welcome to the stage the incredible Jessica Fostekew. Why not sit here?
I love you, Debs, but, I mean, talk about follow that. Fuck me.
Well,
and with just nonsense jokes after that.
Well,
just sort of laying out a manifesto for saving the world. Now, come on and tell them all your tits jokes. But that very rousing, brilliant work. Deborah Frances-White, friends, the podcast.
But I think one of the big successes of the Guilty Feminist has been that we make it an entertaining space. It's not Woman's Hour where you're not allowed to make a joke. I tried once.
Yeah, no, don't try and make a joke on that.
Down.
No, they will. It's not just not laughing. They'll go, what did you mean by that?
Yeah.
Fuck. Yeah.
Bless you, Woman's Hour.
That's where comedy went to die. I won't. Hello, everyone.
Oh, I've got a card.
Oh!
Someone's left me a little treat. Now, exciting. Oh. Is it a card from a feminist saying I'm on board, or is it anthrax from the manosphere? Shall we find out? It's always a gamble in a public space. In fact, Jolyon,
do it.
You're our guest. Would you open it just in case? You're the man. Yeah. There's to be honest, there's more of you. We can afford to lose you. I'm sorry, I don't say that. Tom, cut that out of the podcast.
Can I just say that it's so much writing on this.
Oh.
Wow. I mean, and it's
Well, don't read
Okay.
it. Don't read
Well, no,
mine. That's
if
my
it's gonna
private
be-
mail. What are you doing?
You made him open it. Oh, my
God.
God, he can't win.
That's my private
from you.
post. Bloody hell, John.
Great.
God. So rude. I just wanted you to check there was no anthrax. Okay. All right. Thank you. All right, so Jessica,
Hello.
thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks for having me, more like.
This is the Guilty Feminist, the podcast in which we explore... Sorry, a man talked over that. All right. It's so much fun when we have a male guest. It's so rare. I really enjoy myself. Okay. This is the Guilty Feminist, the podcast in which we explore our noble goals as 21st century feminists and the hypocrisies and insecurities which undermine them. I'm Deborah Frances-White. With me is Jessica Fostekew, and we are doing our launch show for the Road of Gilead. Oh, fuck me. This wasn't on the clipboard and I had to improvise it. And we are doing the launch show for the Road to Gilead series, and it's about the value of coalition.
The tone of that, when this is taken off, and this is like big, the big business, the tone of that coalition is going to be as famous as undermine them.
Possibly.
Yeah. Has anyone ever made what are they called? Meme.
Has anyone ever made a meme?
Of the,
think so,
and
yeah.
undermine them.
Oh, I don't know, probably, but I try not to Google myself. Especially since I did trigonometry. Oh shit! Have I just? Oh no! I deleted all my other
She deleted all her jokes.
Okay. All right, ready? So I'm going to do.
That's a comedian's worst anxiety dream, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just deleting all my jokes. A friend told me she had a dream last night that she'd gone all the way to space, and got there and realised she'd forgotten to pack any pants. And I was like, that's exactly what. I don't know, sort of thing that plays on my mind. That's up there with, and I've deleted every joke I've ever written.
Yeah, the thing is, I probably would forget pants.
No,
and then
I
I'd be
would
in
forget
space.
pants.
I would forget pants. They'd
Well,
probably
more
give
on that
you
later.
special ones. All right.
What, just me? Just me? You made that sound like I'd need special pants for space.
No, not you. One would need
One
special
would need
pants.
special
I can't
pants.
imagine you just take your
Special
Marks
anti-gravity pants?
Yeah, they don't just make you take your Marks and Spencers, do they?
No, it led to a longer conversation about that time when NASA sent a woman to space, and rather than talk to the woman about what she might need, gave her 400 tampons.
For a week.
For something like 3 days. And 100 of them, they tied together in a line.
Like sausages?
Yes! Bit of fun.
Some of the finest minds in the world at NASA. But do you not understand a menstrual cycle? Would you like to hear some stand-up comedy from Jessica Fostekew now? Welcome to the stage, the one and the only Jessica Fostekew!
Thanks, Debs. Thanks, guys. I was already on the stage. It's been half term, so let's address that. I went away for 5 nights and packed just with my one human child. Didn't take the cats. Not my vibe. I think I'm weird for this. I only like animals a normal amount. Okay. I went away for 5 nights for half term, and I did that thing where you packed your car. I overpacked. I packed for months, right? I was going across the countryside bits of Dorset, Devon and Sussex. I packed clothes, entertainment, more clothes, bedding, food, snacks, mains options to eat, every item in danger of going off in my fridge, drinks, nibbles. The parcel shelf was off. I couldn't see out the rearview mirror. That's the level of overpacking that we're talking about, because we all know the saying, better safe than peckish. Anyway, a mere 7.5 hours in the car later on the way to Devon, the first stop, I realised I'd forgotten to bring my 9-year-old son any shoes at all. Hence bringing up the friends going to space without any pants earlier. I don't know if you've ever watched a little boy feed his great aunt sheep wearing Crocs and socks. But let me tell you, your first thought will not be, he has probably got really good parents. I want to talk to you about I think one of my strongest influences in my parenting, even though it wasn't one of my parents, it was one of my grandparents. I had the most amazing nana, and I don't know if I've spoken about her on this podcast before, but she only died last year, and there were so many things that were extraordinary about her that I just want to brag about having ever known her. Her name was Irene Thelma Greenway, and she kind of oozed hope and resilience and positivity. She has lots of legacies. They're not all positive, let's put that out there. She wasn't perfect. As a consequence of her influence on the family, not a single member of my family can pronounce the nut walnut. We call it a walnut. Her other not ideal legacy is, I think it was involuntary. Every time she opened the door to a house, not to every room, but to a house, she'd go, woo-hoo. As a child, you think, Nana's here. As a teenager, you think, God, that noise. And then sort of in your 20s, you'd be like, it's cute, but cringe. And then at some point, if you are from her legacy in your 30s, you'll think, I'm going into a house. Woo-hoo! You do it now. And that's how it gets you. Let's tell you some other things about her. She was amazing. She was nearly 100. I think that is impressive. That in itself takes grit. I'm 42 and I am emotionally threadbare. She was a master diplomat. To this day, all 4 of her children believe that they're her favourite. She was a great adventurer, by which I mean she wandered off a lot. And she travelled the world. She was a maths genius. She did decoding during the Second World War for us, for the good guys. She was naughty. She was wily. She was fun. So how wild is this? As a teenager, she managed to extricate herself from an arranged marriage to her own Belgian cousin. More fun than that, she got out of it not because he was her cousin, but because he was fucking ugly. Naughty. But her most enduring legacy is this positivity, this resilience. She could take joy in the most extraordinary situations. And the best example of that, so one of the things she did in her later decades, for the last 30-odd years of her life, she did a voluntary position called Dolphin Watch, clues in the name. She watched the sea for dolphins on behalf of a local nature reserve down on the Jurassic Coast where we all lived. And she did about 8 hours a week for them, and she never let them down. It could be hail out there. She could have a cold. She'd be there, binoculars, flask. And I remember, in my earlier life saying to her, I think you're amazing, but you're also reliable for them. And she went, no, I love it. I just love it. And I thought, of course. Well, what an idiotic, youthful thing to think. Of course she's doing it for joy. People go all around the world in the hope of having that kind of proximity to that kind of nature, Of course, and I could ask the nature reserve, but did you keep all your notepads? Do you remember how many dolphins you saw over all those decades? And she said, I just know. And I thought, that's that maths brain, isn't it? She can hold those kind of numbers over those kind of years. How many dolphins over all those years? And she said, 1. And wait for it, you couldn't write this. Then she genuinely said, and it could have been a wave. So it is my wish, my dream to be #be more Irene, and maybe that is kind of on topic for what we're talking about today, trying to find moments of feeling pragmatic, if not hopeful, even in the darkest of days. Thank you.
Jessica Fostekew, everybody! That was wonderful. Are you doing your show anymore?
Yes. Oh my crumbs, I am.
That's from your show.
That's from my show. A bit of that, not the half-term stuff, obviously. That's from now. That's from today's thoughts. Yes, I have got a full UK and Ireland tour starting in February and ending in May, and tickets are on sale now. A great idea for a Christmas gift, perhaps.
I loved the show, and
thanks.
if you'd like to hear more about Irene and also more about Jess and see some, it's a very delightful hour. You must go. Our guest today is a writer, performer, and satirist who spent his career mixing sharp political insight with fearless comedy. He co-created and starred in The Revolution Will Be Televised, the BAFTA-winning BBC series that skewered hypocrisy in politics and the media. Since then, he's gone on to create The Ministry of Justice and the BBC series Revolting, as well as starring in Brexageddon and hosting the New Conspiracist podcast. Please welcome to the stage, Jolyon Rubinstein!
Wow.
Welcome.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good. You're a rare man on the Guilty Feminist podcast, but now we're doing
Feel very
Road to
honoured.
Gilead. We need to do coalition. We need to join up and with other people that are doing great things. And I just have loved watching your material online, and you know things I don't know that I need to know. And I thought, instead of having a coffee, why don't we have a coffee with an audience, because more people will want to know this.
We could all just have coffee. It'll be great. She says material. What she really means is the moments when I can't fucking look at final draft script program anymore.
Yeah.
Have watched the news or done the really stupid thing of listening to the Today program, and then just shout down my phone. That's what material is at this juncture in my illustrious career.
But you do seem to know a lot about Christian nationalism and the way that. So you talk about like transnational stuff, like countries wanting to link up.
Yeah.
And I want to know, how did you what first made you deep dive into Christian nationalism? Because for me, it was my book. What was it for you?
So I don't know. Did anyone see The Revolution we televised? Okay. 2, the PhD person. Thanks very much. Whoever said masters, ace. So I made this show called The Revolution Will Be Televised, and it was in an amazingly privileged position because as a satirist, all you're really doing is you're repackaging hard news. And so I had this incredible team of like amazing journalists who would come and sit and sort of present a number of stories. And a lot of the time you're like, that's a great story, can't make it fucking funny, shit. But in the third series, we went to America, basically to all the places you'd never want to go on holiday. You know, KKK rallies, private prisons, great, highly recommend. And in one instance, because I had a character who was called Dale Maley, who's the kind of living, breathing Daily Mail, who says things like, hello, I'm Dale Maley. Behind me, people who love vegans and hate Princess Diana. Stuff like that.
I loved him.
Oh, thank you. He still exists occasionally. So we went to a pro-life Holocaust of the Unborn, that's what it actually was called, rally in Texas. And I spent some time, because when you're being Dale Maley, you're sort of there for the whole day. I mean, you only see a little bit, but, you know, I'm being that guy all day.
Yeah.
And first of all, they did kind of the Lord's Prayer, you know, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be their name, turned into, you know, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be those who hate abortion, you know, and then we were bussed, and I do mean bussed, in yellow school buses out of every American TV show you've ever seen to an abortion clinic that they'd already closed, where predominantly Hispanic women, there were a few black people as well, no white women, were then brought onto stage where they would cry on stage and talk about how horrified they were that they'd had an abortion. And they would hope they could be forgiven by Christ. And then I had to make that funny.
Fucking
Great
hell.
job.
I feel really bad about whinging about having to come on after your opening speech now, Debs.
Yeah, but it was fucking mad. But it was also really powerful because for me, and I think what you're alluding to when you said the transnational stuff is that the reason I was particularly interested in that, I did politics and international relations at uni, big up Sussex Uni, blah blah blah. But it was a kind of I was always really appalled the first time that I learnt that in America, which is not the case in the UK, in America, if you run for the House or the Senate, which are the two houses of Congress, which I'm sure all of you know, particularly PhD, and the Masters, and the people who never did anything like that. But the rest of you guys, fuck you. But you have to fund your campaign. And so huge amounts of funding comes from very small amounts of people. And when a lot of people like Gary Stevenson or a lot of people who, you know, I work with at Oxfam or Greenpeace are consistently saying that particularly during the pandemic, you saw the biggest transfer of wealth between your pocket and the state and private hands. It's absolutely horrific for democracy because ultimately what it means, particularly in America, is that money is then funneled by fewer and fewer people into very specific places. And we're going to talk about some of those people today and make them a bit like the cast of EastEnders. Yeah, because actually I had an amazing history teacher, and that was the first time that I got it. It's like if you start seeing this stuff, because I know, you know, I'm a fucking weird ADHD political geek, right? So this for me is like all fun. But if you're not weird like me, then a lot of it can seem very, very overwhelming. And I think when you make it a cast of characters, it's actually a lot easier to follow because it's all just a weird soap opera, you know, like Trump, you know. Obama cussed him when he was doing his kind of mic drop moment, and there's no way that Donald Trump really wanted to be the president before he was just like, oh my God, now I have to I've got to sort it out. And it's just like, now he's just literally the president of the United States because that's how petty he is. But this is a very, very long way of saying a lot of this stuff comes down to this fundamentally terrifying, and I will say some terrifying stuff today, but the whole reason we're here is because we've got to enfranchise ourselves, and you've got to be able to go out and, you know, talk to your mates in the pub, or your racist granny, or, you know, that mate who, you know, you're going to get defriended by on Facebook anyway, so just fucking tell him. And you know, create this opportunity, because we are dealing with really like networked transnational fascism. That is what it is. And the people who are really trying to take away your reproductive autonomy, I genuinely think don't give a fuck about that. What they give a fuck about is protecting their money. And it just so happens that they are, or work with, rather than necessarily they understand how power operates. And I think, just like Deborah said, and I was really glad you said that during the start, like, it's so beautiful to have a faith. Like, this is in no way trying to decry or deride anyone who is a good faith actor and has faith, but it is a historical fact that religion has been used to persecute people, primarily women, you know, burning of the witches.
But also gay men.
Yeah, they haven't had a great time. But I guess my point is that it's been utilised in that way, right? So from my perspective, and I would certainly not sit here thinking anyway, I'm an expert in feminism or in abortion or any of those things. But what I do understand is how political strategists are utilising touchpoint issues in 3-word slogans that can hugely gain traction online because they're simplistic, they're outraging, and they're emotional. And that's very propulsive for populism. And that's what we're really dealing with.
There's a really good there's a really good documentary at the moment on iPlayer called Young British and Anti-Abortion by Poppy J, filmmaker, and it's sort of about the rise of the pro-life movement in the UK and how it is purporting in part to be secular as well. There are non-religious elements of this movement, very successful TikTokers.
Yeah.
Is that a way of, can you use that word like that? Yeah, and I don't know, I found that really interesting. There's obviously a movement online, and I wonder, like, whether you think this is being influenced by this money and these tech billionaires.
I think for sure. I think though that it's really important to say that, you know, abortion within itself, like, I have complex feelings about abortion because I have friends who've had abortions who've had a terrible time, friends who have abortions who absolutely should. And the specificity of each individual situation can never be underestimated, right? But again, the people who are trying to legislate about this stuff don't give a fuck about that. Don't ever think they do. And the bottom line is that, so I used to live in Walthamstow, and it's an interesting one, Walthamstow, because Stella Creasy, quite active on, you know, a lot of this, got a lot of problems with Palestine Action stuff with Stella Creasy at the moment, but she's done obviously an incredible amount of work on this issue. And I suddenly noticed all these billboards around, and I learned that she was being targeted by, generally, allegedly, American money. Because these people, I think, you know, Deborah said something else that is really, really fucking true, right? Like, people on the right, and I'm saying this is the kind of cultural social right? They are far more organised. They are prepared to work incrementally, incredibly slowly, pragmatically, and step by step, they undid Roe versus Wade.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, this feels similarly pragmatic. There's been a specific targeting of young people. There's one group called Abortion Resistance that they don't want anyone under 40. They want young people, and it's specifically targeting universities. And there are double the amount of pro-life campaign groups in Russell Group universities than there were 5 years ago.
Well, I think we should talk about this as a
and it's being
broader issue.
it's being sold as a feminist issue.
But the faith thing, because you said the thing earlier about men, right? 20% more men, right? Okay. Deeply uncertain times. Possibly, certainly the most uncertain in my lifetime. What's lovely in life? Certainty.
Yeah.
What does a belief in God give you? Certainty.
Yeah, you've got somewhere to put your anxiety. God will, having been in a religious cult when I was younger, God's going to solve it. But Jolyon, what I want to ask you is, how does it make them money to stop abortion?
So,
I don't understand that.
Right. So we're gonna start talking about some characters. So first of all, let's just hear it. Have you heard of Elon Musk?
Yes.
Okay, good. This is genuine because I'm intrigued because it'll inform what I do. Have you heard of Peter Thiel?
Yes.
Okay, that was over half the audience. That's quite good to hear.
I mean...
Okay, have you heard of Ferris and Dan Wilkes?
No.
Fuck. Literally not one. Okay, these Texas fracking billionaires, who are brothers, love fueling right-wing media to the tune of millions of dollars. And this is the interesting sort of correlation I'm trying to draw your attention to. If, for instance, and I'm not saying these are all good faith actors, but let's just say they are just for a second. If, for instance, you believe in God, then there isn't such thing as climate change. Quite useful. So then you can work in big oil.
Just to footnote, some people who believe in God also believe in climate change. But I understand what you're saying is, if you're in a certain sort of religion that tells you what to think,
right,
and the people running that religion, it's in their interest for you to think there's no climate change, and therefore you should spend as much money as you want on cars and gas and that kind of thing.
Sure.
Then it makes sense. So just a caveat. You can convince people who are in a religion that reduces their critical thinking to not believe in climate change, and that is happening.
It is all connected, my friends. This is all connected. So you said, how do they make money from this issue? They're not making money from this issue. They are galvanizing groups of people who wouldn't necessarily support their political agenda through utilizing this issue in order to enable them to basically not be fucking taxed.
Yeah.
It's that basic, right? A lot of this comes from the Heritage Foundation, comes from in the UK. We have things called, the Adam Smith Institute, the Institute of Economic Affairs. There's a fantastic place called 55 Tufton Street. And I made a documentary that I was telling you about a while ago, which you can still find on Spotify. No, they're not good anymore, but they used to pay my wages. Called The Best Democracy Money Can Buy. And we looked into the Koch brothers, who are another two climate change deniers, who what they would do is they would go to every Western liberal democracy and they would set up something called the AudioPlus Network. And what that was high-achieving young people in the equivalent of red brick universities who they could help sponsor and bring to events to basically curtail any progressive climate change legislation, right? Now, that's the sort of thing that we're seeing now being mirrored in this space. And the reason that a lot of these people are doing these things is because they generally take, the best and the brightest, pay them quite a lot of money to leave their moral centre, and then they put them to work to game the system, not because I'm not saying there aren't some deeply true believers, Ku Klux Klan vibes, only white faces, and I want to talk about the American do you remember we were talking about the firewall thing to you off stage, which is terrifying, which the Homeland Security have just started putting out. But they're basically just trying to protect their assets. And for British and American people, and I'm sure loads of you know about this, but I do think it's really important to talk about because it sounds really complicated, but it's really not. This comes from an economic sort of theory known as neoliberalism. And neoliberalism, in its simplest, is the concept that the private sector can do everything more efficiently than the public sector. And that is Thatcherism, that is Reaganism, that is what we trialed in Chile through Pinochet and destroyed the country.
Well,
and it is...
Even Thatcher loved a check and a balance.
She did. But the truth is that I believe, and a
now.
number of people believe it, I think, some people like Zach Polanski, for instance, are saying it's a failed experiment. I don't think it is a failed experiment. I think it did exactly what it was always designed to do, which was fucking enrich the people who invented it. And that is the problem, you know. Like, we should talk about Peter Thiel a bit.
Can you talk about Peter Thiel? Because some people have heard of him,
Yes.
some people might know, but lots of people also listening to the podcast won't know.
Yes. So I'm going to say allegedly a lot. But he's a fucking prick.
Allegedly.
No, not allegedly.
Just
So
for the
these
purpose of the
guys,
Guilty Feminist
just to
podcast, his
say-
prickness is alleged.
Yes, his prickness is alleged. I think that... but any Lord of the Rings fans out here? All right, guys, come
I like the
on.
people who are proudly
Good.
going, no.
So, who
No,
in the audience
use a different
can tell
analogy.
me what a Palantir is?
It's not
Does
a
anyone know?
peloton.
Right, hang on. We've got someone who's... I love that. Brave. Someone's like, fuck it. I am a Lord of the Rings fan. I'm going to put it on a record. So it's one of the stones. And how is it used?
To see things,
Yeah.
mainly.
By an evil wizard.
Called
Quite
Sauron.
literally. An evil wizard uses a weird stone with an eye in it, the evil eye, to see everything. And that's the fucking name of his company. I mean, you literally
That's the name of
cannot
Peter Thiel's
make it up.
company.
And his company is surveillance.
His company, Palantir, is a big data company. So I first came into contact with Palantir when I was filming, because I do really weird stuff. Like, I have a strange life. I'll do things like, there's a place called Davos, and Davos is a meeting of the super rich who all come to say how bad inequality is whilst arriving on private jet in the Alps. It's extraordinary.
So like something out of Succession.
Yeah, I mean, it literally is exactly like that. And they have pavilions, so they'll take over the ski resort and they have pavilions, and lots of people can come walk into their pavilion. And the biggest pavilion was Palantir, and everyone was going in. And I was going in because I was playing a Tory, so I wanted to know exactly what to do. And what they've basically done is they've gone into the NHS. They've taken the data from the NHS. That's current contracts. They've even got into stuff like there's like a £500,000 contract with like Coventry Council. All right, it's not just like the big stuff, but they are in. They're
No
literally
offence,
doing
Coventry.
Coventry actually sort it out. Whoever's got that going on, like what's happening there? There's also a thing that he has called Gotham, which is quite literally Minority Report. For data of your police data, so where you can overly police. I wonder which areas will being policed the most. The white ones. No.
So are you saying that the reason that the United States of America want to make us their unofficial 51st state, i.e. get Farage in, get him in collab with JD Vance and have us all working the same way, is so then there's no restrictions between us? Like, we're not going to have regulations that they don't want. We're not going to stop them coming in. We're all working as one. So what they want is transnational fascism, because wherever they go, there's nowhere for people to run. So a lot of Americans are moving here at the moment. Yeah. And so if they make Britain like America and all the same evil geniuses running everything and all the same force, like the same sources of money running everything in all the countries where they want to be or they want to do trade with, it makes sense. So in that case, makes sense for them?
We move to Canada.
Is it? Well, I mean, but then what? But what about, stuff bubbles up in Canada, stuff bubbles up in Australia?
It's difficult.
Is that what they're doing? And are they giving abortion as a token to the churches, because the churches who are anti-abortion say, we'll help you win votes, and if you give us this kind of legislation? Because I thought it was always there were genuinely people who were anti-abortion, and they made deals with presidents and said, we'll bring you all our votes if you give us abortion, if you give us gay rights, we will give you this. I didn't think they were making money out of abortion.
I think we should be really careful
Is
about
that what's
saying, I'm
happening?
not saying that they're trying to make money out of abortion. I'm saying that this is a red meat issue to an awful lot of people. Like, I've lived in America. Faith is a much more ever-present idea in America, in the same way that, because the culture didn't experience the Second World War, if you, you were a fireman or you were a policeman or you worked in the army, they venerate these services in ways maybe Europe became a bit more cynical about after the Second World War. I'm not saying that they're utilising. The abortion thing isn't to make money, it's to sate certain groups who, in coalition, can then benefit their interest.
That's
and
what I
think
thought
that's
it
really
was,
important. Because the thing that I think people need to get their head around is the actual simplicity of greed and how powerful people can utilize different tenets of public opinion to either attack or draw in. We've just had, 3 years where the word anti-Semitism has changed fundamentally in public consciousness. It meant one thing when Jeremy Corbyn was being attacked. It means a slightly different thing now. And I say that as someone called Rubinstein, who's deeply concerned about real anti-Semitism. But wedge issues, just like the trans issue, just like fucking, Piers Morgan being like, to Zach Polanski, like, I can't believe you said women could have a penis. There are certain issues that groups understand, like whack-a-mole. They can just go, and I'm not making judgments about these things right now. I'm literally just telling you, this is just political reality. They'll just go again and again and again and again. I do think we should talk about the idea of coalition, because the reason I'm here is because me and Deborah had met a couple of times. We've done podcasts and stuff together, but something I'm realising is on the right, and people like Ben Shapiro, people like Russell Brand, other people who, these sort of right-wing commentators, they all go on each other's podcasts. They all elevate each other. We've always talked, the left seeks traitors, the right seeks converts. You're not enough like that. I don't agree with you enough on this issue. I do like him, but he says that. Unless that stops, I do fear that Deborah is right, that ultimately we will be dislocated in a way that is quite hard to entirely envisage. We have probably 3.5 years, probably, until an election actually really kicks off. It's fascinating to see the Greens are now polling higher than Labour. The reality is that will probably push Keir Starmer out and someone like Andy Burnham in. They will then need to pressure Burnham into a more centre-left stance. The really scary thing is that no one's really won an election in the UK without moving to the centre on the right of centre, because that's where the populace is. And this, again, comes down to the main thing, because there's a guy, Paul Marshall, right? He owns The Spectator, he owns GB News. In America, we've always seen Succession, right? I mean, Murdoch, we know about this. We have to look at how society has basically been groomed into these opinions. Yeah. I felt like when we watched Adolescence, we were watching, we're talking about the grooming of children through online computers. These things are supercomputers, and they're beaming at us, and they're very, what's going on X with, the way that Elon Musk on a regular basis says there's going to be bloodshed, there's going to be battle in Europe, there's going to be stuff like...
It's so comical to us to hit. I find it comical every time Trump or Musk says in a very massive public space that we're all, that the UK, especially London, is under Sharia law.
I know.
That it's an invasion and that's going to be beautiful.
I used to find it funny.
I know, but it's instantly comical because you're living in it and it obviously isn't happening. You're like, well, he's mad. That's, what are you on about? But actually, you don't even need to live in America to potentially start finding it plausible if all your feed is showing you is AI-generated evidence that you can't, and my family members
and one of my best mates. One of my best mates.
And they're like, well, no, I've got videos of I can show you 100 videos if you want of Muslim guys being horrible to white
It's
women.
like-
You're like, no, I'm sure, yeah, but how do you respond? Because you can't say, you know, because they'll say, well, you know, those things they've made up.
I don't
Those
even
things are
think we
made
ha-
up,
I
and
don't even think we
they'll
have
go,
to.
oh, you do
Because
if you
because
want
I
to keep
think
your
that
family
this is where
members.
we're at. Is look, everyone was terrified when Tommy Robinson organised that march, and I think one of the jobs of the Road to Gilead is in a year's time, we need to be able to muster that kind of numbers on the street.
Yeah.
We need to have a public demonstration of the fact that we are a pluralist society who are accepting. You know, who are-
Secularism.
exactly.
Be proud of secularism. But like you were saying, to do that then, I couldn't agree more that the left, including right up to the centre and maybe even to the right of that a bit,
Even
need to
Women's
all
Hour.
get more resilient to be able to agree.
I
with
totally agree.
To be more
or
resilient
to
with people they
disagree well.
disagree with.
To disagree well and say we've all got to come out for this.
That documentary about abortion was brilliant because it did show the valid points contained in people's arguments. It wasn't a lie, and you're this, and it showed some, you know, some pro-abortion campaigners behaving really fucking horribly to individual women on their own coming to do a speech. It's like, actually, I don't know. It does feel like kind of the going about it, however we have been up to this point, hasn't been working.
No, totally.
There has to be some
But
kind
it's
of
because
reset.
people like us haven't done this when they've been doing this for years, because we want to just like go and hang out with our mates or go to an LCD sound system gig or go to the theatre or go to that nice new pub. We don't want to fucking sit around here talking about this shit. But actually, because it was a given and now it's not. And so we need to think about what that means in our liberal, you know, we've just read Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow and watched the new, you know, film and think it's mad that Sam Mendes is doing that Beatles biopic. And we're like, no, hang on a minute. What are they talking about? Well, they're talking about taking away our fundamental rights. You know, and that is kind of the state of it.
But I feel the people that are here that have turned up for the first thing are the people that have been talking about this, have been on marches, have been campaigning. So I wonder if it is if we have to start coming together like on a weekend afternoon and doing this kind of open space thing that I'm talking about, but also maybe we have to get in experts on persuasion, and we have to find out, like, one thing I'm talking about in my book, the 6 Conversations book, is you cannot scold a family member into seeing things from your point of view.
It's
God
never made
knows
anybody
I've
change their
tried.
opinion ever.
No, it doesn't. I think it's actually not worth, if someone can be converted in one conversation, that's a very bad sign, because then they'll go down to the pub and someone else will say something else, they'll be converted again. What you want in a conversation is just to ask questions. And what I was trying to do with my cousin is go, here's just the numbers. And I know you wouldn't want to spread misinformation. Yeah, nice. So now it didn't work because he unfriended me. However, I feel like what I'm going to do for the next year is try and learn techniques that do work. Because sometimes
Therapists will be good to talk to as well.
therapists, we need to get therapists on.
But can I just say, I think we need to be
That's
really
good.
careful here, because they're persuadables and unpersuadables. And actually, radicalisation is really powerful. But what's really important to remember is the biggest group that's growing is not people who're just voting for reform. It's people who are just not fucking voting, right? The battle is completely winnable. But the real battle is not against reform. The battle is against apathy. Because a lot of people have basically given up on democracy. And that is the truth. Because when you actually think about it like that, you're basically saying, can I convince the over 12 million people in Britain who just can't be fucked or have done that,
Just think it's not going to work for them anyway.
on one day to go to a weird porter cabin
Primary school,
with a
etc.
pencil
Yeah.
and go, not for Nigel Farage.
Yeah.
And I think that is doable. I really, really do.
So maybe it's the apolitical middle and
Yeah.
the people that were political but gave up because they think what's the point? It's coming together with it. I think we need stuff like book groups and you know, and again, not just bombarding people with it, like, but just going, I've just got a question. What do you think of this? Or would you like to come to this with me? Or like trying to find ways of magnetically drawing people in rather than going, you're not doing enough or you're not doing the right thing or you don't understand.
Well, in
Again,
existing groups, if they're like a community-based groups where, you know, it's harder actually, I think, in existing friendship groups or families, But if you're in a book club, or if you go to a WI group, if you go to a gym where people socialise after, bit more like a professional setting, if you have a situation where you can do a safe place, to use a very wank and woke term, but have a thing where actually all takes on this topic are all right. And I think that's something else, in my opinion, the left haven't done brilliantly.
No.
It's because...
But I feel my blood pressure
people
goes
don't
up when
feel
you
like
say
they
that.
can
I
say-
just in my head went, fuck that.
No, my anxiety is huge when I hear that.
That's
but
how you're going to bring people to the table, is not shitting your
do we-
load every time someone is scared about the
But
boats.
do we need to? Do we need to actually do that? Or do we need to look at very specific things like media ownership in Britain? Yeah? Why are we allowing
both?
this guy,
Maybe
Paul
it's
Marshall,
both.
to buy this thing? Why is Elon Musk allowed to flood our networks? Why aren't we looking at radical policies like nationalise the internet, right? Reclaim digital economy. Our attention, our children's attention, my grandparents' generation's attention, they are being radicalised by fucking fake news. Why is it that Facebook and YouTube and Twitter, you can't sue people because it's comment, but if it's in a newspaper, you can sue the fuck out of them. It's not on. It's because you've got monopolies that haven't been broken up. And the problem is that for people like us is, and this is what I mean, is the right, I mean, I love the Green Party. I think that's fantastic. But just as an example, I think that, or I don't even think, I know that the guy who is basically doing Nigel Farage's TikTok is basically allegedly. Fucking allegedly, all right?
so you know,
Is-
allegedly.
Well, I'm not saying that on camera. There's a guy, he does some social media, but they're paying these people like 150 grand a year, right? On the
about
left,
his-
well, exactly. So it's got to be like, how does this stuff get funded? And I bet you there are people in this room who are literally going in their head, I know someone who can do that. That's what needs to start being pulled together. I do think we all need to join the Green
someone
Party.
to do Deborah's TikTok.
Deborah's TikTok, yeah. And honestly, I really think it's going to come to this. A lot of people, Owen Jones says this, but a lot of people, it's going to be like, some people are going to go to jail and some people are going to run for Parliament. Because it's not going to be like, you know, we're living in an age where Donald Trump is a fucking reality TV star, right? Like, if Molly May ran for the Greens, they'd probably do really well. Now, I'm not saying that's good or bad.
Okay.
But I'm saying this is the world we're living in.
So I think this is the sort of beginning of some ideas for a conversation. I don't know that. I think it's sort of starting out going, we obviously don't have all the answers, but we want to start asking the right questions, because I feel there's so many smart people, and also on our side are all the storytellers, all of the filmmakers, and then but when it comes to it, things like adolescence do work. That started a big national conversation, as opposed to, you know, your boys are watching too much, giving them too much screen time. Like, we have all the storytellers, all the artists, all the singer-songwriters. Are there any questions from the audience? Anybody got anything? Anyone want to ask a question, or in fact has an idea that's better than our ideas? Yes. Can I give you a microphone because of the people at home?
Thank you. I actually wrote the card that you half opened earlier, and it is an idea. And if you're happy to, you can read it. Yeah.
Can I read it out loud? Yeah.
It was very powerful. I didn't just want it to be like a cheap gag earlier.
Okay. Dear Deborah, I founded an organisation called Enough, focused on sexual violence prevention. 1 in 4 women in the UK are raped or sexually assaulted, a national emergency in the government's words. Less than 1% or fewer than 1% of perpetrators, fewer? Yeah, than 1%. It's not more than, I'm just... Yeah, thank you. Of perpetrators are convicted, creating little deterrence, but 70% of students in our pilot city said enough, and the availability of self-testing DNA kits on campus had prevented rape. There's a lot more that I'd like to explain. This is the only innovation in the UK to try and tackle the root causes of sexual assault or sexual violence. More info at Enough to End Rape or myenough.com. Thanks, Katie, and then I won't read out your phone number.
Brilliant.
But yeah, that sounds great. And that would be something you could bring to the open space to talk about how to get that, you know, how to make that larger, more people drawn to it. So maybe it is about people who've got ideas coming in. And I think it's a sort of, it's almost like we need people to get, like, if Jess wants to run a space where all ideas are open, we should be like, Jess, that's a great thing. And if that's your impetus, and if your impetus is to tackle, to take on and tackle, hold on a minute, how is it that we're allowing monopolies on the internet and monopolies
Hold on a minute, I'm just going to make
space?
comedy fucking shows. Someone else can deal with that shit.
But you know what I mean? Like, if that's your drive, then you should start making videos about that, or doing a campaign about that, or drawing in people who want to do a campaign about that.
I would suggest that as well, that's a very good example of an issue that has been completely co-opted by the right. Like, what's that statistic about? Some insane percentage of people who had literally been accused of domestic violence are the ones who are rioting to protect our girls. Yeah. It's like these issues, we need to sort of take them back.
They are the same men who don't believe any woman accusing anybody unless it's an immigrant. Like, the only time they believe women who say that they've been sexually harassed or assaulted is if it's a refugee and an immigrant, and then they can manipulate that for another agenda. They don't believe any woman in the public eye saying anything. And a lot of them, as you say, have convictions themselves. This is a great thing, and maybe we can do a podcast episode about it.
Do you know what? Do you remember you started, when you started doing the monologue, when you were talking about, God, does everyone remember 2016?
Yeah.
I actually think that part of it is completely rewriting the narrative from that point onwards. Because let's not pretend that Brexit was about anything other than hating brown, black, or Asian people who basically they wanted to get rid of. So they got rid of Europe. The guy who lied to us about that, there are still alleged allegations about Russian money helping to fund that, to destabilize Europe, allegedly. And the realities are that we, as a collective cultural centre-left, have been cowed into silence, and it's taken someone like Zach Polanski going onto television and going, no, that's bullshit, actually, isn't it? I loved it when he was asked, he was like, I can't remember who it was, but they really thought they got a gotcha, and they're like, Zach, so I hear you don't fly. And he was like, yeah, I don't, but it's all bollocks, really, isn't it? I just don't do it because I can't go on shows like this and actually have a conversation about it. And I just thought, amazing. Because this is the problem, is that we've accepted a type of media narrative. Like, that's what Chris Morris was so good at. That's what it was, when those shows came out, we actually had an opportunity. I mean, the BBC
they just look like actual documentaries now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know, they really, really do. Has anyone else got anything to say? Because we've got to wrap up really soon.
There's a hand up at the back, keen
There's
hand.
There's a few hands.
You said you talked about having 3 powerful words that sum everything up.
Oh, 3 powerful words that sum everything up.
Now what would sum up the road to Gilead?
Yeah.
Oh.
To Gilead, I don't know.
I mean, we're talking about, aren't we? It's like, I mean, I think the one we've been talking a lot about with the Greens is just, sort of ordinary hope. Make hope normal again. Those kind of things. I mean, this is fascinating, because I'm sure it's Jessica. This is fascinating there, because this again is the thing, is 3-word slogans: stop the boats, lock her up, build the wall. These are all built by algorithms that were just like, the way to get through to people is to,
God, it'd be quite funny if we do end up getting our 3 words off ChatGPT.
Hang on a minute. No. Okay, so let's.
No, I'm very anti.
Let's brainstorm it now. Okay, 3 words.
Tax
the rich. Here we go. Okay, tax the rich. Who else has got one?
I reckon don't.
Fuck the fascists.
Fascists, yeah.
It's weird.
Really
That sort of
nice.
sounded like the voice of someone who I just asked a question. So, fuck the fascists, the FTF. I'm into it.
I feel like it's to do with the power. It's like we have power, I think.
Yeah, it is. It is about that.
It's if we come together, we have power. All influence is power. And the way you influence people in power is you say, we won't vote for you unless, or we're going to vote for this guy. Like what UKIP did is UKIP knew that they would never get into power. They knew they were a fringe party. They forced the Conservatives into, they didn't have to, but they felt forced into a referendum about Brexit. And I feel like at very least, Zach Polanski is going to force Labour into playing to their own base.
I totally agree.
They're going to have to, because they're losing people hand over fist to the Greens.
And that's why every single person of this room should join the Green Party.
Absolutely.
Right? And you should tell everyone. Like, we were talking about this in the pub the other day. A mate of mine was like, what are you doing on Saturday? He was like, I'm picking up the kids. Oh, shit, I've got to go to Sainsbury's. Then I'm just going to join the Green Party. Then I'm going to go to yoga. And I was like, that's what you want, is for it to become as normal as, I just haven't.
I've joined the Green Party and I'm on the WhatsApp group now, and I can see, like, we're delivering leaflets on this day. And I thought, I think I'm going to go and just start, delivering leaflets and just getting to know people. And we're definitely going to, we'll try and get Zach on the podcast. If we do that, it'll have to be a bit of a rally. We'll have to do it in a big space. But I think, we might get some other people from the Green Party on. It doesn't always have to be Zach. Like, just to sort of go, what are they doing and what have they got? And the more people join the Green Party, the more Labour will have to go left. I really, really do believe that. Who else had a point? Because we've got to wrap up soon. But there's 3 hands I can see.
Cool.
Okay, we'll try and be expedient.
If amplifying our voices requires being in social and digital spaces, and we know those algorithms are being manipulated, like, how do we get around that conundrum?
Through collaboration. This is what we talk about. Organic reach comes through. If I post with Deborah, we'll get more reach. There's a lot of people. This is just very basic, but or just social media, how to utilize social media. But I'm saying this a lot to people like Amnesty International. I'm saying this to Greenpeace. We just need to start looking at it like that.
Attitude
and also,
magazine.
Yeah.
Like, we've all got to get
and collaborating with people, even if you don't agree with all of their
but
things.
Also, we've got to
just
stop
on the
feeling
main
like
page
pricks
of
asking
wanting to fuck
stuff
off
like
the
that.
fascism.
We all feel like a bit cringe. Like, I don't want to ask that.
The right
weird.
do not care about being cringe.
No.
The far right do not care about being
That's
cringe.
because they're
Have you seen them?
losers. They're just like these guys are the
Conciliatory
guys.
language I was hoping for.
But they just are. These are the guys who couldn't talk to girls. These are the guys who literally never had a girlfriend. These are there's so many of these people. Who
Jessica
have
would like to build more of a
thank
bridge.
you.
She wants to build more of a bridge.
I just think we've got to start just being like reclaiming. Like, we need to take it back now. It's like you said this to me on the phone yesterday. It's like there was this period of time where these people felt disenfranchised. Maybe maybe all of us and everyone watching and everyone listening is feeling disenfranchised. And this is our galvanizing moment. And it's for us to come together.
I think we also have to start redefining, and this is for our British listeners, and wherever you are, you'll have the same, redefining what it means to be British. Like, we can play into that sentimentality too. All of that, what was their slogan? It was what?
Take back control.
Take back control.
Take back control.
That sort of whole, they always do these sort of nostalgia things, like Make America Great Again. That is a story. That's a story. Make America Great Again. 4 words that means America once was great. America is not now great. America will be great again. I'm the guy to do it. That's a story in 4 words. We're the storytellers. We've got all the good storytellers. Why are we not doing this stuff? Think about the Blitz spirit. Think about First World War, where the government made everybody
it is happening. Look at the meteoric rise of the lionesses and the red roses.
Yes, there you go.
And
Exactly.
that's like
Can we get
pure,
lionesses?
beautiful, glorious
I
patriotism.
saw this
and
great
it's
poster
most
as I was driving. I was line biking through Shoreditch because I'm that guy, and it's just like tax avoidance kills, and I was like, more of that.
More of that. But like in the First World War, nobody knows this because they kind of, I think, wrote it out of history. But the government told everyone it was their patriotic duty to take Belgian refugees. And people had them in their houses and they had to feed them, had to look after them. And then they sent them back to Belgium afterwards because they wanted to rebuild Belgium. But that's why Hercule Poirot is Belgian, because it was based on a refugee that Agatha Christie met.
Didn't know
now,
that.
we've got to go into, what was the Blitz spirit? What was it? Like, it was fighting fascism and it was helping each other out. And yeah, it's probably, also there were loads of people looting and stuff. It wasn't always the Blitz spirit, but that's not the story they tell us. They tell the story that we'll meet again on the White Cliffs of Dover and we were all linking arms and fighting fascism.
Yeah.
Let's bring that idea back. I know it's simplistic. I know we always want to be pluralistic. We want to be nuanced, but they are not nuanced. And I don't think we're going to win this with nuance. I think we've got to play into some of the things that they do, but do them well for the right reasons. I'm not talking about master manipulation.
Hi, thank you. I spoke briefly on this show once before about running for election. I was running for the Borough Council for the Women's Equality Party at the time. I actually ended up being the first person elected to Borough Council for the Women's Equality Party last year. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sadly, later on, as most of you probably know, the Women's Equality Party closed. That was quite gut-wrenching and heartbreaking, but I've started my own political party now to replace the work locally.
Oh, wow.
It's called All In. It's about all voices being in the rooms that matter and all of us being involved. And I say that not just for self-promotion, although you can find us at allinparty.org.uk. But because I think two things. One is that anyone can run for election, and it doesn't need to be about whether or not you think you have the bandwidth or the wherewithal or the skills or apart from the fact that you fucking do have the things to do that. You can just be the person that asks the awkward questions at the hustings and the person that asks the really fucking awkward points and raises those points that you know, why is it you feel that way? Why is it you can do that publicly
As a councillor,
and
as
as a
local,
councillor, on a very local level, you can do that, and you can make huge change. That I'm happy to talk to anyone about.
It's a surprisingly small commitment, hours-wise.
Very,
and a lot more
very,
people could do it than
you
think
can.
they could.
But also, when you start talking to people like Zach Polanski and the Green Party, can we please push those people that are starting to have more impetus in the larger parties to cooperate and collaborate more with the smaller parties? That's the one thing that WEP always did and that All In is trying to do, is to allow membership of more than one party to say, let's work fucking together, let's stand down in that election. It shouldn't be about us, and can we make this effort something that pushes those parties that are starting to have that traction to do that more, because it's the only way we'll win.
I've talked directly to Zach Polanski about this, and there's definitively like a goal to work collectively. Right, and I think, for instance, Zara Sultana, who's I think a fantastic MP, but some of the language recently has slightly concerned me because I don't think we're going to do ourselves any favours by not having absolutely the attitude that you're talking about. And it also reminds me, we're asking what we should do. Steve Bannon is another person we should copy. He had a thing called the War Room where he used to literally get people to call in and just be like, and it's amazing. And Jennifer in Kansas, she's stopping the steal. She's stopping the steal, and she wants anyone to meet up. I think our friend Jeff, and we're with Maisie in Rose Island, and she's making sure that she's on the school board to make sure we don't get any of those trans books in. And it's like, that's what they did, was they used podcasts to people to tell them, oh, I'm doing this here in Inverness, say, right? I'm working specifically, just like you said, as a local councillor, I need some help. And someone else would listen to the podcast and go, I can help. And that is what we don't do, because we haven't looked at it like this base. But actually, if you want to take a sort of a Marxist approach to this, we've got the means of production, right? We have the ability, just like Deborah's saying, we've got the storytellers, we've got these people. We just don't use the technology to re-message and help people get this information.
So we need to start. Oh, sorry, I haven't got the mic anymore.
No.
So someone behind who wanted to say something first, and then we've got it close.
I think it's probably quite similar to what's just been asked, but it was just that about you're saying about getting better at TikTok, and that these conversations need to happen in the social media space. But when you look at how bad they've got, it makes you just want to run away and not be on them. So how do you reconcile having to be on those spaces when every moment on them just feels worse and worse and worse?
I think it's so important that we don't leave it. I mean, one of my best friends said to me the other day, I just can't talk about Gaza anymore. I can't talk about it. And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, it's so weird, isn't it? It's like, we've got to this point, it's probably all right to talk about it now, but I just can't do it. I'm just completely exhausted. And it talks to a much wider exhaustion that what you're saying is a part of, which is the profound depression and apathy about all of these things. But if we don't, it's going to get worse, not better. And all of my mates are exactly as you described. 2 kids, super busy, got to get the kids doing, gonna watch Just Traitors, can't do anything else, right? So some of it does have to be quite low lift. It just does. But it's enabling them with the spaces.
And also, when there is connection and drive and purpose, it feels energizing. It's like going to the gym. When you're just scrolling like you're in a voluntary Clockwork Orange, which is how I feel some days. I'm like, I'm doing this to myself. Like, what? If someone was forcing me to do this,
we
I would
are
call,
busy.
I would
We've
call
got stuff to do.
Amnesty.
You can sometimes see stuff on there that writes the day off emotionally.
Oh my God, totally.
And like, you're in a pit of rage. You can't, if your job involves focus, creativity, any compassion,
You're
you're
destroyed.
fucked.
Yeah.
So you can't. There has to be.
you're so right.
There have to be sensible ways in which boundaries in place about how much time spent in that space.
So, with that in mind, has this conversation been useful at all? I actually think one of the most useful things is we have also at times disagreed good-naturedly. And normally I get anxiety on the podcast if anybody disagrees, because we are in an age of, even though I've written a book about this, we're in an age where we can't really disagree. But I feel like I quite like us going, no, that's not the way to deal with it. I think it's this. No, I think it's this. I think it's important.
That's the point.
It's kind of important. It's kind of important. And I feel like I'm in a new era with that now.
But also, isn't it that kind of almost rule for improvisation? It's not no, it's yes and.
Yes.
It's not, it's never like just no.
It's we agree on what we're trying to do, we just don't agree on how we're trying to do it. And we've got to be able to say, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I know people will immediately write into me and say, you're doing this the wrong way.
Oh, yeah.
And I am going to say, of course,
God bless those people.
Of course, I'll take advice and things like that. But ultimately, I think if it sort of doesn't feel right to me, or it's knocking me off course, or it's discouraging me to the point of stopping, I'm just going to say, look, this is what I'm doing. And it might not be for you. So please start your own thing, and I will go in coalition with you. I'll shine a light on that, because I think that's quite hard to argue with. This will not appeal to everyone. Some people don't like the reference to Gilead. They won't. It's fine. That's fine. I'm drawing the people with what speaks to me in a way that it will speak to some people. Nobody can speak to everybody, and no one ever will. So say your thing, draw the people that authentically come to you, and have goes at it. And don't let anyone discourage you. Don't let anyone discourage you. Just say, this is what I'm doing. And please let me know what you're doing so I can shine a light on that.
But also, just isn't it that thing James Baldwin always said, that it's always been small groups of motivated people that have changed the world?
Yeah, but coming together. We need to come together, and I think that's what we haven't done in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
I have never gone into coalition with Attitude magazine. I've never even thought of it. But now I'm thinking, I think I understand what they're doing. On the 10th of November, we've got another Road to Gilead show, which is not yet sold out. I think it will. That's at the Pleasance Theatre. On the 16th of November, we're back here. That one at the Pleasance has got Felicity Ward and Minnie Rahman, who is the CEO of Praxis, which is a human rights group that focuses on refugees and how the far right is playing that. But also, I think we're going to have two guests for that. One is the rector from St James's Piccadilly, who's anti the Christian nationalism being misused and corrupting the church. And then 16th of November, we're back here with Jess Fostekew again, Baroness Barker, who's a big LGBTQ rights plus person. I want to talk to her about how we can use democracy, what's left of it. And Monica Ferro, who is also from a human rights, coming in from a human rights perspective. That'll be double episode. 23rd of November, we've got the New York Times journalist, but that's sold out. And 6th of December, this has just gone on sale. Soho Theatre, 2 p.m. We've got Russell T Davies, brilliant showrunner who is the It's a Sin, Queer as Folk, Doctor Who. And he gave this brilliant speech at the Welsh BAFTAs. He's very concerned about, the rise of the far right. And I don't know if any of you heard, but this group called the King's Army came through Soho a little while ago, and they are intimidating, they're Christian nationalists intimidating the gay community. So we're going to talk about two things. One is, what do we do? And about LGBTQ rights, because he's such an advocate. But also, we're going to talk about the power of story. And how do we do what he does so brilliantly, but maybe for, how we speak in socials, or, how do we get behind a certain show and use the brilliant things, like something like Adolescence takes off, but some things don't, but they're out there, they're already online, they're already on the streaming services. How can we make that popular to make that point? And there's also not a Road to Gilead, but a brilliant show on the 6th of November at Camden School for Girls, which anyone can go to, with Kate Moss, and she's got a book about, I think it's feminism for every day, there's something for every day of the year. Oh yeah, not the supermodel.
But also, Kate Moss might be there. You
don't know.
She lives locally.
She does live there.
All of those are on guiltyfeminist.com.
Kate's Mosses.
If you're interested in the Open Space Day, there's only 75 places at the Amnesty one, But we can also do sort of chapters outside. So if you email guiltyfeminist@gmail.com and just express an interest, and then we'll let you know when we've got a kind of booking thing. But the current date is 17th of January. But I'm hoping to kind of make them quarterly, if this one goes well, so that we've got a place to come back to. But also through that, there'll be lots of coalitions of people start going, oh, I'm doing this, or we come up with an idea to start a national book group where everyone starts a new book group or introduces a book to their current book group, and we all get conversations going online. So just stuff like that I hope comes out of it, that's all grassroots going all over the shop. Because I genuinely think that I don't know if I said this before, but if people in this country didn't want to be ruled by Europe, they damn sure do not want to be ruled by those Americans in the White House who, with their hands in the air, singing Jesus is Lord and speaking in tongues. That they don't want that. This country is mostly secular. If they don't know, then there's nothing that can be done. That sounds like an alarm going off.
Fair. That one came from the matriarchy.
I think it did.
Half an hour over.
And please do feel free to email suggestions, guiltyfeminist@gmail.com, of what you liked about the show, what you felt what you feel you'd like to see. But I would appreciate that feedback, because I want to build it, and I can't really build it unless I know what you want built. And so I feel this is a together responsibility. I don't want to be left with this on my own, and for our small skeleton team all working on a we're doing it all on sticky back plastic and string, to be honest, at the moment. But I think we can build it into more.
Nelson Mandela said, "It always seems impossible until it's done. Never fucking forget that." That's it.
It's very true. And he knew a few things about that. None of us are in jail. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. You have been listening to The Guilty Feminist with me, Deborah Frances-White, guest co-host Jessica Fostekew, and our very special guest, Jolyon Rubinstein. The recording engineer was Prunty Lazimbra. The Guilty Feminist theme tune was composed by Mark Hodge. The producer was Tom Selinsky for The Spontaneous Shop. Thanks to Rachel Craftman, Gina Dicio, Georgia Tennant, Zainab Mohammed, Ned Sedgwick, and everyone at the Museum of Comedy, as well as all of you for listening. For more information about this and other episodes, visit guiltyfeminist.com.